Okay, calling us back into session, returning to open session. School Committee, Thursday, May 16th, 2024, returning to regular session. I just want to make sure, so Alyssa, can you hear us now?
I can.
Okay, perfect. We're all here, so I will now ask everybody to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge, Ed? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, thank you. It's time for public comment, but there's no public to comment. So we'll move right on to the regular session, first with the chair's report. I do need a representative from the committee to be our food services bargaining person. Would one of you be interested? Alyssa just, unless you're dying to do it.
So it was going to be my recommendation that we have two attend, one of our newer members along with one of our more experienced members, so that our newer members can get some experience before, going in 3 years with teachers and such. So that would be my recommendation.
Okay.
Going into this one, this might be a little bit of a lighter lift.
Okay.
I can do it. Whatever.
Oh, yeah, if you're,
Doesn't matter. Okay.
doesn't matter. Yeah, you raise your hand
Oh,
first.
so
You
what are
grab
the
it.
dates?
So they're to be determined. You'll be involved in setting the dates.
I can be there that day.
Okay. That's good. All right. So now the question is, and Joe's not here, but Alyssa, are you willing to be that person, or would you prefer not to be?
I had actually asked Joe about this one. He and I had a one-on-one conversation,
Okay.
and I believe he was willing to take that on. So you may just want to verify that with him.
That was one of the things that Joe had. Yeah, I think that makes
Okay. So why don't we tentatively say, I'll tentatively go with that, and if I'll be the backup plan, I guess, if he can't do it. Unless you prefer to be, Alyssa.
No, go ahead. That's fine.
All right.
Yeah, like I said, we had a one-on-one, so I would confirm with him when.
Okay. So for now, I'm appointing Joe and Ed, and I will confirm with Joe. Okay. All right, that's my notes. Okay, that's that. Now we have our second read and vote on both our reviews regarding the budget. To remind everybody out there are two. One is from a company called Municipal Resources Incorporated, or MRI, and that is for the personnel matters. And the second is from a company called CLA, right?
I thought we voted on those.
Yes, so just to reiterate for everybody, we did vote on the MRI one to authorize me to move forward, which I've done. We did not vote
on the other one.
on the CLA one because we had feedback and questions for them. So subsequent to our last meeting, Kelly and I, as directed by the committee, sat down and with Christine, town council, and put together a list of questions and requests. They have come back, and actually, if I would invite the town council to update the committee on what they came back with and what. I believe they agreed to our requests, but they want a little bit more money.
So following the vote of the committee, the chair and committee member Cormier and I had met. There was an expansion and clarification of what would constitute the special services. In particular, what was added to that was a confirmation that there would be a presentation in person, which would report the findings and the recommendations. Also added was that there would be to whatever extent possible, a prioritization of whatever action items are recommended that the committee and the district collectively take. There would be identification of where the district might not have been following legal requirements and where the district might not have been following what's referred to generally as best practices. there would be the inclusion of a RACI chart, and
A what chart?
RACI, and it would break down, it was a suggestion from committee member Cormier. It's a chart that would break down their findings into specific categories of responsibility, accountability,
Who's consulted?
consulted
who's
and informed.
So for things that we should be doing, so processes that we should be following, just a standard chart that lets us know, given that there's so many different stakeholders across all these items, it's a common way to clearly denote. And this, in this case, would be the recommended, which one of our stakeholders are either responsible, accountable, need to be consulted, or need to be informed on these processes that we need to follow or
So
be
it's
following.
suggested, if I could just add, it's a suggested framework.
It's a framework, yep, suggested, yep.
Now I'm a bit confused. I mean, I understood all of that. This is the audit, quote unquote, one as opposed to the personnel one.
Correct.
So I thought that, like, was it illegal, was it best practices, was a critical part of the first one. In fact, that's what they were.
There will be overlap, and some of this would be captured. Another option for the committee would be to, because it went up a bit, is to maybe hold that as a second round, if you will, to expand the scope and allow them to at least deliver, definitely by the end of the school year, the first components, and then stick to
The 25,000.
The 25,000.
That's a very good idea.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that makes complete sense
Okay.
to pull back on
All right.
the racing.
And
And that's one of
'cause-
those things too, a racing like that. We're not trying, I don't think we would need to reinvent the wheel. There should be something, I would think
Right.
even, like who's responsible and who's accountable for all the different tasks between the school committee and the
Right.
school department. Some of that should be kind of boilerplate as a starting point. So to remove that from the consulting
Okay.
engagement is fine if that's what's going to increase.
Right,
costs.
there was one other thing, though, right? I'd like to, do you want to bring it up, or should I?
Oh, no, you can.
Right, so one other thing I noticed was that our main purpose in this, right, was to understand where our processes might be, and I'm looking for the language, but.
It's the very last bullet point, under a discussion of deficiencies in district organizational design, is that
We
what?
don't have that version.
Oh, yeah, here we go, right. So in the statement of work section, right,
This is-
the very last bullet was recommendations for process improvements for future budgeting and financial management.
Oh, okay.
That's one of our biggest focuses, if not the biggest focus. But in their boilerplate, several paragraphs later, it says our engagement cannot, it says we have no responsibility to identify and communicate deficiencies in your internal control as part of this engagement. Now, when I read that, I thought those two things were in conflict, right? That the main point of what we're doing here was now in conflict with something in their boilerplate. Their reply on that was, well, we have to have that because it's the word deficiencies triggers a forensic audit. And we didn't want to go to that level of detail, and we were specifically recommended by town manager not to do a forensic audit. So according to Ms. York, that triggers a forensic audit. So they have to keep that. And so where they're drawing the line is the word deficiencies is different than recommendations for process improvements. I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah, me too. I think
Yeah.
you're right.
As
You
long as
know.
we're saying that, it sounds like we're saying the same thing, they just need that term in there.
They're
based on
protecting
some of the-
themselves from being expected to go deeper. That's my interpretation. I think, Christine, you agree with that?
I do.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking about the process of both of them. Presumably, the other one's going to come first,
Oh, yes.
and by the end of the fiscal year. This one seems,
This one will take longer.
Yes.
And probably go through the summer.
right. So we may take actions. In fact, we're almost certainly going to take actions based on the first one.
Right, they're,
Sorry if I can just finish
Yes.
the point. And therefore, we'll have a better sense of whether we want the whole of the second report or not when we've got the first one.
correct.
I think
Another
the
argument.
course that you just suggest, I'm arguing the wisdom of your approach, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, I felt that it seemed like with the back and forth with CLA that what was triggering additional expense was the request for the RACI analysis. So I suggested to town council that, well, maybe we could make that a second, we could always say, hey, we'd like you to go deeper. We have a new fiscal year. We have $10,000 more we can spend, whatever it is. So then they align with that? I mean, are
Yes,
they willing? Okay.
They are, yeah.
So then, Alyssa, is that all clear to you?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So then, given that, I think, unless there's more discussion here, they did agree to all of our other requests, Christine, correct?
Yes.
Within the 25K.
Yep.
And just, I'm sorry, one question. Are they aware that we're also doing the MRI audit and what might have, that they could then use that as a resource too, as they're ongoing? Because that would just, if appropriate, we discussed this last time, if appropriate, granted, not all of it may be appropriate to share with them, but
Right.
if there is appropriate information, could we share that with them so they can use those findings as well? Just as long as, I don't think we need, that's not a contractual item.
Right.
But I think it's worth just making sure that they know both are going on.
Yeah, we can make sure
okay, yeah,
that's on their radar,
Yeah.
and to the extent that, as you were saying, to the extent that it is appropriate, then that information will
Okay.
certainly be relevant and passed on to them.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I guess I'm looking for a motion to approve the CLA agreement as we've stated today.
Okay, I would do that motion, but the agreement isn't what's in our printed packet.
No, I
Okay.
can circulate,
Okay.
I will adjust it slightly based on this meeting, and then I will circulate that to the committee members, but it is, and I can check with the chair if it looks okay to him, that,
We could sign, we can proceed.
yep,
So I guess the motion should be so stated. In other words, the motion, I would recommend to the committee that the motion be that we, empower town council and chair to
Finalize the agreement.
finalize the agreement according to our discussion just now. So,
Sounds good to me. I just seconded your motion.
okay, I guess I can
I
make a
have
motion,
yeah.
I suppose.
I just want to make sure that what you and town council will continue to work on and sign is the version that has the additional scope items that we talked about, excluding RACI or any of those items that would drive the budget up.
Yes.
It's not what's in the packet.
Correct.
Okay,
So
all right.
to some,
yep.
I just don't know how to form that motion.
yeah, so maybe we should, I'm looking for my copy that has the comments on it. So
Yeah,
it's
I just
gonna
have
try
electronic
to summarize
copy.
it for everybody.
You have a.
Actually, this is
Christine has a
the,
printed out copy of it.
yeah,
Oh, okay.
That has the,
So I
that has
could
those.
read that into
Yeah.
the record. That'd be much better. Yes, thank you very much. All right. So the special services section of the statement of work will now read as follows. Review fiscal year 2024 school department finances. Bullets, reviewing bullet points, reviewing budget preparation supporting files, reviewing year-to-date expenditures, analyzing estimated costs to complete the year, calculating and comparing to school estimated deficit. Major heading, prepare summary of findings in person or via Zoom, and present those findings and recommendations to include 1, factors contributing to the current year deficit. Action items, that's the summary of findings. Then the process improvements for future budgeting and financial management would include action items to be listed in priority order, identification of where the district might not have been following legal requirements, identification of where the district might not have been following best practices, identify areas where training is needed, discussion of deficiencies in the district's organizational design, and whether there was a single point or points of failure. Now, we also had in here prepare a standard RACI chart, but we're going to now put that on a to be potentially added section.
So
Yep.
it occurs to me to ask, nowhere in there do we ask them if what happened is consistent with our policies. I hesitate to suggest that, but maybe we really ought to know. I mean, we can't be in a position where someone's just recommended that we change things because it's best practice and we're not aware of the fact that that their recommendation's contradiction to our policy. I know it's a charming idea, but that we, probably a good idea to follow our policies. Not that they can't be changed, but it seems to me you gotta know that.
Yeah. I just have a feeling, I worry that that'll hit the scope.
Me too, but
Yeah.
don't we need, I mean, what's the point of having if we're not gonna follow the policies, we should burn them. As long as we got them, and they are pretty well drafted. I've been reading a lot of them.
Yes, they are. They're easy to find. I mean, it's not,
No,
it's just,
right.
just effort to paw through them. What do you think?
Regarding CLA reviewing, I mean, they would do that as part of their normal review. They'd take a look at they would look at what the internal policies are.
As long as it's part of their work, it's fine with me.
Yeah,
I just think
yeah.
that they need to do that.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's kind of captured in the bullet point that says identification of where the district might not have been following legal requirements. Those would be legal
Yeah,
requirements.
that's right, our policy, right?
Our policy is a legal requirement.
Yeah, it might not be, all of them some might be a matter of local practice, but many of these policies arise out of the MGLs.
Yep.
So,
Well, strictly speaking, they arise from the Mass Association of School Committees, and probably they derive them from the law.
yes, the Massachusetts Association of School Committees from many different communities will draft up, they become the contracted agency that is essentially becomes responsible for updating school committees and school districts' policy manuals. And they will notify the district when there are changes, and but CLA would certainly, as part of their review, refer to the policy manual.
Could I just suggest, in fairness to them, that when the two of you meet with them, you just say that you're assuming that that's part of what they're going to
Sure.
do?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I just have one more question, I promise, just one. So where it says identification of where the district might not have been following legal requirements, is the school committee included in that? When we say the district? I just want to make sure.
The district is
Everybody, I just want to make sure it's inclusive of all of us.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, all right,
Yeah.
perfect.
Let me make a note here.
So given that, Mr. Chairman, are we ready for a motion?
Right, well, I had made a motion, but it wasn't seconded, so someone else can make a motion now.
Okay. All right, I make a motion that we empower town council and the chairman to continue forward with this contract with the changes that have been read in by Chairman Brown during the session to move forward towards contract approval
And
signature.
I second.
Thank you, Alyssa. All right.
so, all right, so any further discussion on that? And I just want to make sure it's clear, like that I'm authorized now to sign,
Yes,
right? That's your intent,
Yes,
right? Assuming they agree.
agreed.
Everybody understands that, I hope. So maybe if I could just suggest a friendly amendment to add the words and to execute the contract.
Yes, I agree.
You didn't specifically say that.
Okay,
And she
and
did say and to sign.
What's that?
She did say and to sign.
I did say and sign.
Oh,
And
okay.
just to further clarify, my motion does include authorizing the chairman to sign and execute the contract.
Okay.
And-
All right.
And to clarify
And
that.
minor changes as necessary, right? The two of you are authorized, in your judgment, to make changes that occur in your discussion that are,
That's
was part of my
helpful.
motion, yeah.
Yep, that's helpful.
All
Yep.
right, so can you amend the motion that way then?
All right, I'm going to start over.
Okay.
I'm creating a new motion.
Oh, wait,
So
well,
wait, I think we need to withdraw the motion that's on the table.
I withdraw the motion that I made on the table,
thank you.
and I'm going to do a new motion to empower town council and Chairman Brown to work through to a signed agreement based with CLA based on the changes that were previously made and discussed and that Chairman Brown read into the record, with the intention of getting to assign an executed contract and further empower them to make any minor modifications through necessary in the process to reach that agreement.
Okay, great.
Seconded.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any further discussion? Okay, hearing none, we'll vote. Kelly?
Yes.
Ed?
Yes.
Alyssa?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So, approved. Okay. So that is old business. So that's the agenda for today.
All right. Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn has been made
Second.
and seconded. Kelly?
Yes.
Yes.
Ed? Alyssa?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Meeting is adjourned at 12:37.